It's the new Netflix documentary that everyone is talking about, The Perfect Neighbor. It actually goes back to a case that I covered on my show and a trial that we covered on my show and on my network, Court TV, way before this documentary came out. So when the documentary came out, as a matter of fact, I heard about it from one of our mods, Ashley Bouchard, sends me a text saying, "Hey, have you seen this Perfect Neighbor?" I was like, "No, I haven't. Let me take a look." And then within 30 seconds, I said, "Oh, we covered this case. We covered this trial." So we're going to talk about it today, probably with a little different perspective than you're going to get from the Netflix documentary, which is done very well. It was featured at Sundance. I was at Sundance, but did not get to actually see it at Sundance. I had to watch it on Netflix. But it is a fascinating look at what happened here. It's a case, if you aren't familiar, and obviously you're going to go watch the Netflix after you watch this live stream if you haven't seen it already. It involves a little bit of a neighborhood feud. You have a woman who's sort of the neighborhood grouch, doesn't like the kids playing in the yard next to her, not her yard, but the yard next to her, causes some 911 calls, some police responses. There's a lot of body cam back and forth, and ends up with a mom of the children who would play in the yard no longer alive. And a trial for the woman, the grouch of the neighborhood, goes on trial down in Florida. So that's sort of the nuts and the bolts of it here. I'm Vinnie Politan, lead anchor for Court TV. I do 2 hours of live true crime every night on television. That's right. You can get true crime in places other than the internet. You can also watch on television every night from 8 to 10, 2 hours. It is live. It is unscripted. It's absolutely amazing. Make sure you tune in. With me, of course, is Albert H. Wunsch III, Esquire.
Hola, Tangenistas.
And next to him is the radio legend, the one and only Jonesy.
How do you say greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey in Spanish?
Hola.
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 Okay.
Asbury Park.
I don't know.
Hola, Del Asbury Park.
I have to ask one of the folks in the chat. I'm sure they'll be posting it momentarily. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the Tangent True Crime Podcast.
It's Vinny and the Tangent True Crime Podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangent True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill Gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangent True Crime Podcast.
All right, welcome. It's a special hump day edition, a Wednesday edition of the True Crime Podcast, because somebody can't be here on Friday. Who is that? You, Al? Is that you? Can't be here Friday?
I cannot be there Friday, unfortunately, but that's why we have Wednesday. Give somebody get a treat a little bit earlier this week.
Indeed, okay. Especially this time of year, things get very busy for folks. So we're getting ready for that. So we've got a couple different ways to approach this, but let's start here because I did watch the documentary, most of it. I admit it. I watch it after my show, so I come back from doing my show. And that's like my TV time, but I made it almost all the way through and then zonked out. So I didn't see the ending, but I know the ending because I covered the trial. I thought it was well done, but like every documentary, and this is the nature of documentaries. I think people should understand is that they're trying to make a point, right? There's a purpose to it. It's not just looking at it and saying this is what happened. It's saying this is what happened, and we have a problem or something needs to be done. So there's a perspective and a point of view, which I I understand. I don't think everyone necessarily understands that, but I think it's important to know that when you watch any documentary. So they had one here, and I think they made their point pretty well. Go ahead, Al.
Okay, I'll say that by doing the way they did it, I mean, there were no interviews. Okay, there was nothing going on where you would get that slant of, it was everybody piling on the horrendous, disgusting, horrible neighbor. But it was with body cam footage, which I found to be quite fascinating, because you're getting to see it from the perspective of the police officers who were being called there incessantly for no reason whatsoever. And that to me was, I thought, an excellent idea and something I'd never seen before in a documentary. I've seen it interspliced, but I never saw a entire program based solely on the footage of the body cam. And it really was I watched the entire thing and I found it fascinating. And I had covered this with you, Vinny, as you know, on Court TV. And this was, way before this Netflix special came out, documentary came out. But I thought it was very well done. And I thought it was, it's a sympathetic portrait of a woman, who had 4 children, who's no longer with us as a result of a heinous and disgusting act of shooting through a door, because someone was knocking on your door.
Well, we're going to get into the details here. We'll get into the details. Let's do this. Jonesy, you did not see it yet, did you?
I did not. No, I failed. Like in most cases, I failed to do my homework.
That's okay, Jonesy. That's okay. So you come to this with fresh eyes, which I like. So let's start here. I'm going to show you just a little taste of some of what happened here. It's only like a minute or so. But the last thing I'm going to show you was, to me, the part of this whole story that broke my heart and brought the reality of the situation. Okay? And I'll let you just watch it. But it's the last little part that you'll see. And I remember when I covered this was the first thing that I really focused on. Now, all this is taking place down in Ocala, Florida. I see folks talking about it down in Ocala, which close to Orlando. It's sort of northwest of Orlando and northeast of Tampa. So if you connect it, kind of makes a triangle. It's where John Travolta has a home. With an
airstrip, right?
And an airstrip to land his jumbo jet, right? Because it's relatively close to the Church of Scientology down in Clearwater, Florida. So that's what I know about Ocala. Ocala is also close to the what do they call it again? It's the huge retirement community, the Villages.
Caesar Village?
No, it's called the Villages. Jonesy, you would love this place. You would love this place. No, I'm telling you, it's everyone. People go down there, they retire. They have a range of homes, of prices and stuff, but it's a party every single day and night.
Okay.
There's just so much to do, and a lot of it involves music. An old teacher of mine, my old soccer coach, who was a drama teacher, ran the drama program at the Villages for a bunch of years before he passed away. So it's a fun place. But anyway, that's what I know about Ocala. But let's take a look at this, because this is very, very, very dramatic. So let's take a look. See here. Let me remove this and add this.
97. I have one down. I have one elderly female barricaded in the house with a signal 0. Sheriff's office, come outside with your hands up. This is the Marion County Sheriff's Office. Come outside with your hands up. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Turn around. Turn around. Where's your gun at? I don't know what's going on. You're going to be detained for now.
I left my iPad over there because we were playing games. And I went to go get it. I said, give me my iPad because she dropped it, tried to throw the skates at me. And and then I got my brother. He said, come hit me with the skates. And then,
All right, bud. Give me a minute. Just hang out by my car, okay?
Well, I got some bad news to tell you. Mom is not coming back anymore. Come, come. No. Come here. Come over here. Listen to me. No, I know. Okay. It's okay. I know. Okay. I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Wow.
That last part is the part, that breaks my heart. That's the reality, right? Like a police officer's got to tell them that. And then you see the real reaction in real time.
Broke my heart, and I'm Jonesy.
Yeah.
Horrible.
So there's a couple things we take away from here, right? From this initial thing, you've got the arrest of the defendant. We see that. And then we see the little guy, the little boy, who's kind of in the middle of it. This is what triggered everything. That's a bad word to use. I'm sorry. But this is what, escalated everything that night or got things rolling that night. A controversy involving roller skates, right? And you see the little boy says she threw the roller skates at me or tried to throw them at me. He goes back home to his mother, and his mother has that information, and that's what is the motivation for the mother to leave the home and go across the street and start to bang on the door of the defendant.
A door that was bolted, closed, and locked. Okay. And to fire through a door at somebody is just abhorrent. And at that point, Vin, I don't believe that she was arrested. She was being detained. She had not been arrested at that point.
No.
And that's the interesting thing about it, because the special, the documentary shows you a lot of the footage of her at the police station. And
I've got some of it. I'm going to play. I've got the 2 interviews for you. Now, this is what people have to understand about why these arrests are not made immediately in cases. The law in Florida, Florida has stand your ground. So there has to be, when there's a claim of self-defense, when someone is claiming self-defense in a case, there has to be some level of investigation to take place before you detain, you interview, but you don't charge until you do a full investigation. And a lot of people don't understand that, but that is very standard down in Florida when there's a claim of self-defense, that the investigation, because that's what the law is. The stand your ground law provides immunization from prosecution in cases where you are rightfully where you're supposed to be defending yourself. So there has to be some evaluation by law enforcement to evaluate the situation. Otherwise, they can get in trouble themselves for not following the law. So that's kind of part of the angst in the community, is when situations like this happen and people say, my goodness, my brother, my sister, my daughter, my child, whatever was taken, and no one's arrested. What's going on here? Well, what's going on is that the law is very specific, and for law enforcement, they have to do an investigation. And I mean, they should always do an investigation, obviously, but they really have to get to the bottom of it. And once they finished their investigation, they arrested her and charged her. So it wasn't like there was like someone getting away with something. It was law enforcement following the law.
So I had a neighbor, when I was a kid, we would play ball in the backyard, and she had a beautiful house, an older lady with a beautiful backyard, everything very well manicured, and she seemed to despise us. And in retrospect, I don't really blame her, because she had a lovely place, and she lived next door to this apartment building that had 8 units, most of them poor, single mother types. And, the kids would play in the yard. So she probably saw it as bringing down the neighborhood or something like that. But whenever the ball would go over her fence, she'd come out and she would take it and walk inside and not say anything and just confiscate her ball. It didn't escalate to that point. And in fact, she showed me an act of kindness once. She called me over to the fence and gave me a shoebox full of baseball cards.
Wow.
That, apparently, I guess, belonged to her son or something like that.
Wow.
But, she was one of those type of neighbors that Just
We had one too.
Didn't
And
appreciate.
I'm going to
the
call
kid.
them out. The Whitneys. It was an old couple, no kids, and they just looked out the window, waiting for any moment when one of the balls we're playing with in our backyard would go in their yard, and then they would try to confiscate it from us. And they were so spiteful. They were nasty people. They hated children. And my backyard was the backyard. We would play, 5-on-5 tackle football. We'd play basketball. We'd play wiffle ball. We were always playing in my backyard. And they just hated it so much. But as a child, I was afraid to cross the line. Like, we knew where the line was. Even though everything rolled together, there were no fences or anything. We knew where the line was, so we would never cross the line. But once in a while, you get a foul ball or a errant pass, and then you'd have to quickly run onto the yard, get your ball, and run back. But they would love to jump out and take the ball. The Whitneys, ladies and gentlemen, the Whitneys.
Did you have one of those red rubber balls, the ones that were like hollow inside that you'd buy at the 5 and 10?
Pinky ball.
Is that what it was called?
You're talking about a Super Pinky?
Pinky ball.
Yeah. I love those.
Yeah, those were great. We played regular tackle football in the backyard, full equipment. So let's get to this now, because I think I want to put the law up first for everyone. I think it's important, before we listen to her tell her story, we need to understand what the law is. We'll do the law and then the facts. Usually you do facts and the law, but let's do the law and the facts. So I'm going to put this up, and this is what, again, makes our podcast a little different. Okay, justifiable use of force, home protection. Okay, that's what we're talking about down in Florida. A person who is in a dwelling or residence in which the person has a right to be has no duty to retreat and has the right to stand his or her ground and use or threaten to use a non-deadly force against another when and to the extent that the person reasonably believes that such conduct is necessary to defend himself or herself against another's imminent use of unlawful force, or B, deadly force, if he or she, this is the key word in this whole trial, ladies and gentlemen, this is the word, reasonably believes that using or threatening to use such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another, or there's an or here, to prevent the imminent commission of a forcible felony. Okay? Is everyone following this? So,
Are there any other kinds of felonies except forcible?
Well, there's a lot of felonies.
yeah.
Or just the word forcible? I mean,
Well,
if
but
they break into
theft,
your home.
Theft is a felony. I mean, it doesn't have to be forcible. Robbery is
Forcible.
forcible.
Now, let me put another piece of this on. Let's see. A person is presumed, okay, this is the presumption now, to have held a reasonable fear of imminent peril of death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another when using or threatening to use defensive force that is intended to likely cause death or great bodily harm if, all right, now here are the two scenarios. The person against whom the defensive force was used or threatened was in the process of unlawfully and forcefully entering or had unlawfully and forcibly entered a dwelling, residence, or occupied vehicle, or if that person had removed or was attempting to remove another against that person's will. That's not the case here.
No.
So let's get to the B now. The person who uses or threatens to use defensive force, which would be the defendant here, knew or had reason to believe that an unlawful and forcible entry or unlawful or forcible act was occurring or had occurred. So my reading of this is, if you believe that someone is in the process of forcibly entering your home, you are entitled to use deadly force.
And that's
I'm
not-
reading the law now. I'm not applying facts here. I'm just reading the law. We're just analyzing the law right now.
But see, the thing is this: So if you're looking at it from the standpoint of the law, banging on the door is the least.
Wait. Now you're introducing facts.
Okay, but I'm just
talking
saying.
about the law.
I'm
talking
throwing
about
out
the
a-
state of mind of the defendant. It's the state of mind of the defendant. So focus on that right now.
Well, let's focus on the fact that she also looked it up before she started talking to the police, but that's besides the point also. So this law just blows my mind, and it could only, you see this situation in Florida, and we've had so many weird cases out of Florida that I actually, and I remember when we had discussed this, Vinny, I was scared that this woman might get away with it based on that. Seeing that the fact that down the line we had the case with the popcorn assault, justifying someone shooting someone in a movie theater. The reasonable aspect of this is the key, and that's where this case fell apart from the standpoint of the defense. But you're right. I mean, if you have an absolute fear, I just don't believe if you're knocking on a door, okay, you have any intention of busting in. All right.
Now you're getting into the facts. Okay, so
but I'm just saying, because I'm
let's get
analyzing
into
the
the
law.
facts.
I'm saying, where's the law go forward on this? So, I mean, does knocking on the door constitute me putting in fear that you're going to break in? I think if you start from this law, if I'm grabbing the handle of the door handle and I'm jiggling it and I'm pushing on the door and I'm banging, running into the door or something along those lines, that might justify a fear. Okay, based on what I'm reading here. All right. But, I mean, I don't know if I'm knocking on the door, then I generally don't think that means I'm forcing my way in.
Right.
So I don't think we want to. I don't think we want to argue the law itself, but I do want to tell a story of when I was in Florida. There was a news item at the time of a guy who was an aggressive driver, and it got pretty bad between him and the other car, which was being driven by a woman, and her husband or boyfriend was in the car with her. Eventually, they pulled over, and the person who was the victim of the aggressive driving got out of the car, and he went over to the other guy's vehicle, and he put his hands on the window so that his hands were inside the car. The guy had a handgun ready and waiting and shot him. I believe he was red rummed. Yes, he was. And what happened is I followed the story. It was only there for a couple of weeks, but I followed it in the newspapers. Is that the fellow who did the shooting was not charged,
right?
But the flaw there is like he was the aggressor, and then the other guy just simply came back at him, and then bang. But again, like I don't mean to. I'm not trying to like argue the law. The law is the law, and that's that.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, right? You reasonably is what the jury has to determine.
Right.
It's a question of fact. Now, people, and this is the one point, like every time one of these stories happens, and I hear you, Al, and lots of people say what Al says. They blame the law for what happened here, but there's a reason and a history behind the stand your ground law. I mean, what was happening in this country is that people were breaking into homes, being and getting hurt by the homeowner, and then suing the homeowner. And it got to the point where, like, even if you're successful, you have to defend a lawsuit. Someone breaks in your house and you have to hire a lawyer to defend yourself. Like that was absurd. It was absurd. And then this whole concept that we have in the common law, the duty to retreat, is what is eliminated by all of it.
That's correct.
And the concept in the common law was, if someone is going after you, you have a right to defend yourself, but first you have to see if there's any other way to get away. So it puts a burden on the victim to have to figure out if they could run away and whether or not they could defend themselves. And then if they're on trial, they have some sort of burden to show that there was nowhere for me to go. Like, to me, that's crazy. That's crazy. So this is really the stand your ground is a victim's rights law. It's giving rights to a victim, to a person who is rightfully and lawfully where they are supposed to be, and they are the victims of aggression, perhaps assault by someone else, and this law was created to protect the victims. Now, obviously, criminal defense attorneys will take advantage of that and attempt to use it in cases where it's not applicable. And then we just put it in the hands of the jury, the people of the state, to figure it out. But you can't blame a law for people defending themselves.
I understand that, and that, yeah, and I mean, I'm kind of wrapped up in the facts of this case. So,
okay, so want to get into the facts?
Let's get into the facts.
Listen to her, Jonesy. Do you want to hear from her?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so she did 2 interviews. So we'll start with the first one. I have like a minute of that, and then I have a little longer in the second interview. But I think this is, and I think this will give Al the meat that he needs to make the points that he wants to make. So let's get into it.
Okay. I know.
It's coming up right after it. All right.
What happened tonight that led to the conclusion that?
Well, I'm like, kids go home. So they go home, and then all of a sudden she comes out, and she is just banging on my door. I'm like, go away. I'm not dealing with you tonight. And then she started banging so hard, everything started shaking. And I'm like, you really need to leave. And then I'm going to kill you. And she's just banging away. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy. And since she has actually harmed me, I'm like, this just keeps getting worse and worse. I'm like, I don't know what to do with her. And she banged so hard, it looked like my door was going to fly off. And I panicked. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's really going to kill me this time.
So AJ, she came to your door.
Oh yeah.
And she was
pounding on it. I was like, what the hell? My cat's going to fling it.
What was she saying? Was she saying anything?
You don't talk to my sons. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. I'm like, oh, and I was like in tears. I'm like shaking, and I'm like, oh my God. And I thought she had gone away, and then she starts banging again. I'm like, oh.
Did she try to come inside?
She was trying as hard as she could.
And what do you mean?
That door was moving. And I'm like, holy
did she try the door handle, or was she just beating on it to try to push it in, or what?
She was just, just trying to push it in, and I was like, oh my God.
So what was she saying again?
She's like, you can't talk to my sons that way. I'm like, you're trespassing,
So you were communicating with her through the door?
Yeah, I'm like, all right, just leave. I don't want to hear it. Now I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. And I didn't think too much of it until she really started pounding that door. I'm like, oh my God. Then I got scared, like terrified, scared.
Okay. Now, I don't know if the jury believed her or not. We can look at this 2 ways. You can look at her credibility of her story, right? That's one way. You believe her, you don't believe her. Let's start, though, with the presumption. Let's presume she's telling the truth. Okay? And that's a big presumption. That's a huge presumption. But if we presume she's telling the truth here, how do you see this fact scenario as applied to the law?
As applied, well, okay. She's not inside. The door is closed. The door is bolted. The door is locked. Okay. There is nothing. There's no, I have a gun. I have a weapon. I have this. I have that. Nothing along those lines, as she says. And, what's brought up as another fact is that the woman had already called 911. Okay. The cops were on their way. All right. So under the circumstances, absolutely, it does not fit the law. It does not fit the law. Because if the woman had knocked the door off its hinges, like she's claiming, okay, or anything along those lines, at that point, it would be one thing. To shoot through a closed door, okay, a closed, bolted, locked door is not what this law is supposed to be protecting. That's not a victim at that point. The victim is the person on the other side of that door. The woman is in a house. She's in a safe position. She has the police on the way, and she discharges a weapon 2 minutes after she calls 911. Okay, 2 minutes after.
Now, the first 911 call was a result of the interaction with the children.
Right.
And after that interaction, she called 911. She did not call 911 when the banging on the door was occurring.
But the 911 call had already been, and the cops were on their way.
Right, they're on their way.
Right. So the police were on their way, and it was 2 minutes after that she ends up shooting this woman. So, you know, the thing is that the door is closed, the door is locked. There's no way she's getting in. Okay. If you're going to shoot somebody, if the door springs off its hinges and it's there and she's coming in, okay, stand your ground applies. Doors closed, doors locked. You have no reason to be in, you could be in fear, but no reason to be using deadly force. And at that stage of the game, the law does not apply.
Jonesy, how do you see it?
I'm having trouble believing that her side of it, that it necessarily
right. But we're presuming that she's telling the truth right now. And again, big presumption, but we're presuming that right now she's telling the truth. So under the facts that she is laying out from her perspective, what are your thoughts about her use?
So that's not enough for me with the law. The banging on the door very hard is just not enough for me to wrap around, like, you know, that law applying. I had an incident like a couple of months ago where somebody was
Jones. By the way, let's not move to Jonesy's neighborhood wherever he's living.
Either that, Vinny, or we got to have like a camera on him at all times, because that could be a true crime. That could be a true crime show in and of itself.
Well, somebody was. I heard a key in the in my door while I was watching TV, and there's a hidden key outside that my neighbor uses for the cat.
Jonesy, you just told the world that you have a hidden key outside your door now.
I told my serious talk show audience where the key was, because I'm not a person who's afraid, who thinks somebody's going to, like, you know, bust in on me.
So why do you hide it?
Well, I don't want to leave it out, like, you know, like in the doorknob. I don't even lock my door. I don't even lock my door most of the time.
Could you reveal some of your passwords?
I'll give you my social security number and my mom's maiden name. But anyway, so somebody was like trying a key, and I thought, well, maybe it's my friend Neil. He has come in and checked on me once when I wasn't answering, which is a story for another day. But I do go over to the door and I say, "Who is it?" And the guy says his name, and he's laughing and laughing and laughing. And I look out the peephole, whatever you call it. And he's too close. I can't really see him. And I say, like, back up so I can see you. And he starts laughing and laughing. He's like, come on, man. And he backs up, and I see him, and I'm like, you have the wrong apartment. And, you know, it was during the summer, and a lot of people, you know, like, visit us because we're at the shore, and we'll stay in other people's apartments. And so I can see the guy getting confused. But I was scared at first. Yeah. You know, I do not own a firearm.
Did you grab a weapon? Did you grab a baseball bat or something?
I didn't. I just, because I rushed over to the door right away. I mean, I guess eventually that would have been the case, to grab, you know, some kind of like weapon. The thing about a weapon is I'm not physically like in great shape, and if I pull out a weapon on Al, for example, and try to swing a baseball bat, he's going to grab it and beat me with it. So, but the dude was really stoned and made a legitimate mistake, and I was scared, but my reaction was to try to figure it out, like, what's going on out there. Meanwhile, I only had one of the two locks locked. It's, you know, you could easily like kick it in, I'm sure.
But just use the key, folks. You don't have to kick it in. Just use the key.
Yeah, the key is behind the star. Of course, there's a star on my front door as an adornment for obvious reasons, and the key is hidden behind there if anybody wants to drop by. And I'm in the book, but you know, I'm not of the nature where I would have reacted like this lady So I'm just relating a story of how something like that can go down and just be a total misunderstanding.
Yeah, that is. Look at this, though, folks. Heather, whatever. This is the best story I've seen in quite some time. I had a bear in my kitchen. I didn't bleep, but my dog ran it out. No more unlocked.
Yeah, that's a pretty frightening situation. And wow, that's a pretty brave dog.
So I agree with you on this. Let me. Can I change the facts just a little bit on this?
Okay, change the facts.
Instead of the woman from across the street, the mother of the children who you were yelling at, coming over and banging on your door, what if it's an absolute stranger and it's 3 men outside who are banging on your door?
I'm scared to death at that point.
Would you use? Would the force be? Would you still have to wait for them to breach the door, Al?
The thing is, okay, so I haven't called 911, or I have called 911.
No, so we'll do same scenario. You called 911, but it's
okay.
It's
then
3.
then you'd have to wait till they breach the door. You can't shoot them through a.
Wait. Let me change the facts one more time, Al. You're a dad. You've got your wife and your newborn and 2 other small children in the home, and there's 3 men outside banging on your door, saying, "I'm going to bleep you."
I'm not shooting through a door. No.
Even though there's 3 of them?
How
about a warning shot?
No such thing as a warning shot. Okay. There's no such thing as a warning shot.
I just know some people are going to say that.
But I mean, it's a scenario that you call 911, they breach the door, then they do it at their own peril. At that point, I may warn them, listen, I am armed, and I am going to tell you right now that if you do not, desist, I am armed. Okay, that would be my point. I would bring that up, and then I'd wait for the police to get there. Okay. As long as they haven't broken the door down, as long as they haven't smashed through a window, okay, I have no legitimate reason to shoot through a closed door, not knowing who I'm hitting.
Let me change the scenario one more time, because I get it. I mean, you're very consistent. It makes sense. You have a surveillance camera, and you can see that they are armed.
I still, at that stage of the game, I've called 911. If they have not come in through the door, what am I supposed to get, the drop on them? I mean, that's not what that law is designed to do. The laws are designed to protect me in my home, okay, because someone came in who wasn't.
Well, that's considered your property, though, if they're on your stoop.
Well, they're on the front doorstep, but I mean, if they're on the front doorstep, they're not in my home, okay? Once you breach, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, this isn't like the Hatfields and the McCoys where you're shooting them from the window, okay? The whole concept is that if they breach the door, okay, if they are walking in, then they're fair game. If they're outside and they're knocking on the door, I don't care if they have a cannon.
No, banging on the door saying, I'm going to take your life.
I don't care if they have a cannon.
And
I called the police. I expect and when you call the police and say, listen, there's someone here with a gun, the police get there pretty darn quick. Okay. Now, in the circumstances with this whole bat. Okay.
Wait. I just want to point out that this is the place where this is where we diverge. Because if it's 3 people who are armed outside, I'm one person inside with my family, and he's threatening to take my life and is banging on the door. I believe at that point that is absolutely justifiable to discharge from inside to outside.
No, and I'll tell you why it's not. Okay, so you fire. You have no idea where that bullet is going. All right, it kills your neighbor who's out, going, hey, what's going on over there? Okay. And the bullet kills your neighbor. How is that justified? Okay, you don't know where you're shooting. Okay,
yes, I do. Right through the door where they're banging. I can see him on the camera.
Okay. So you're going to be. So in other words, Vin, you're like this. You're going. All right. Let me see.
No, I see 3 people in front of my door. And I live in a neighborhood where there's no one across the street. I live in
no one across. You look to see there was no one across the street.
I live in a very isolated rural home, and there's no neighbor across the street.
But if you're telling me it's a very isolated and you know there's no one else around, I still don't think you have that right to fire into a closed door. All right. Okay. Once the door is breached, once the the threshold is breached, that's the threshold as far as I'm concerned. As that's when you have to do what you have to do at that point in time. You give them a warning. You tell them I am armed. I'm telling you right now.
I am trained in the art of fisticuffs.
Yes, and I've used that line before, and it works on Jonesy every time. And you just basically say, this is it, and you call the police, and you have a hillbilly standoff for a time being till the cops arrive.
So that reminds me of Ralph Mouth on Happy Days when he was at the pool hall, and Ralph Mouth said, I'll have you know, these hands are registered as lethal weapons.
So's the chain in my pocket.
Right. The other gentleman says, so's the chain in my pocket. Of course, Fonzie saves the day.
Yeah.
Of course. And that was when then Fonzie was allowed to wear a leather jacket after that point.
Yeah. I will tell you, though, Al, in the state of Florida, I would not be charged under those circumstances.
And you know what? And that's the tragedy of it all. You're 100% correct. Okay. And you know what? That's the tragedy of all. What if it is
under your scenario, you have to wait for 3 armed individuals to be going after you and your family before you can respond?
I'm not shooting
after they've already made their intentions known.
How do I know?
They've breached your property and are now banging on your front door, threatening your life, and you still can't do anything under your scenario.
Oh yeah, what if it's the wrong door and it's not you that they want a red rum, and then they all just say like, "Oh, we're sorry, we were looking for apartment 19."
Well,
they have. I mean, the thing is that under the circumstances, I'm not shooting through a closed door.
Well, I'm not saying I would. I'm saying under the applicable law, that individual would not be dragged into
and I don't agree with that. I think I could make a case against that person because I don't think at that point if your door
get voted out of office pretty quick down in Florida.
If your door
he would never get voted in office in Florida.
Yeah. No, I'd probably be thrown out of Florida. But if the door is bolted, the door is closed, and they are not breaching the threshold, I do not believe I should be using any type of deadly force. I should be advising them, telling them that, listen, you know what?
Strongly worded letter.
You mess with me, I have a weapon, and I will fire. Okay? You come at your own risk. They continue at that point, and they bang through the door, and the door opens up. Then I'm trained, and I'm ready to fire. But under those circumstances prior to that, I'm not shooting through a closed door for any reason whatsoever. It's just not the way it should.
I would not charge nor indict that person.
And you know what? So what happens if it's trick-or-treaters, or what happens if it's
it's
guys
not trick-or-treaters,
a stripogram, and they're pretending to be this, that, the other thing?
Wait a minute. 3 male strippers?
And who am I? All right, they have guns, okay.
And they're threatening your life, and they're banging on your door at 9 o'clock at night.
Let me tell you something. How far do you draw the line?
That's where I draw the line.
No.
I was with you. I'm with you. I'm with you until the point that there's 3 of them, and they're armed, and I know they're armed.
But you've got the police on their way, and you've got a standoff right there. They're not coming through because they know I have a gun, so they're not coming through the door, and the cops are coming on the other side. So what am I supposed to do with that point? Just start firing willy-nilly? And the other thing is this: what if you fire and miss? Okay, then all of a sudden, that at that stage of the game, as I said, there's no upside to shooting through a door when you can't see who you're dealing with. It's not even. I don't care if I have a camera. It's still not.
Whether it's the right call, whether it's smart or not, is not. I think is a different discussion. This is just, to me, this is a discussion of, is it legal or not legal in the state of Florida. So that's where I am, right?
You know what? I've given up trying to figure out what makes sense in Florida. Okay.
All right.
Popcorn
Well,
case, in my opinion, was without a doubt the case that to me just said, you know what, it is basically, Dodge City in Florida, basically Dodge City. Just do what you want. Okay, just give a ridiculous excuse. I was in fear of the popcorn, and that's why I fired. I mean, and that worked. So that ought to tell you there is nothing, okay, that makes sense to me with regards to Florida. Nothing. And I don't
let's
even
take a
like
look at the second interview. I like no
When
state
Ajike
tax.
was at the door, when she approached the door, when was it that you realized that it was her coming to the door?
Because I said, who's there?
Okay, how did you know someone was there initially? Was it
There was
because,
a huge banging.
Okay.
Just pounding at that door.
okay. So initially, there was no words, it was just the pounding,
Yeah.
that's what started
Yes,
the interaction there?
yes.
And where was the pounding at initially, where it first began?
He was yelling. I thought she was just going to break down the door.
Okay,
So, I mean, my heart was pounding, and I was like, she's really going to kill me.
okay,
That's all I
so
felt.
when she first came up and where were you when she started the
I
beating,
was
the
in the
very first
bathroom.
time? You were in the bathroom
Yeah.
when she started beating?
Yeah.
And did you come to the door?
Well, I was approaching the door, and then she started screaming, and I knew who it was. And I
Okay.
said, that's it, I'm not opening this door.
Okay,
Because I figured if she came in, she'd be just absolutely pound me into the ground.
all right, and then when it became silent, after that first round of beating on your door, where were you at then? Did you go,
I think I went to wash my hands, honestly,
okay,
because I didn't know who was at the door, and I wanted to know, and then I was,
okay,
so I went back and washed my hands.
okay.
So,
So that's during the time where it was kind of quiet, and you
Yes.
thought that maybe she went away?
mhm.
Okay, and when the banging and the yelling started again, where were you at then?
I think I was in the kitchen.
Okay, all right, and then what happened?
And then she just kept banging and yelling, like, you need to leave, you're trespassing, get off my porch, get out of here, I'm not talking to you, leave.
Okay, who else was outside the door besides
I have no
Ajike?
idea,
You don't know?
I have no idea.
Where were the other kids? Because I know the kids had been over there prior to her coming over,
Yeah,
or?
they were right by the, where the fence is, and then there's a sidewalk. They were right
Yeah.
beyond that sidewalk, inside where it's supposed to be no trespassing.
Okay, so they were outside of the fence while she was banging on the door?
I have no idea.
Oh, you're not sure?
I have no idea.
Okay.
You asked me when the kids were there earlier.
Right.
So, and the kids finally, I went inside. I figured they left.
So you didn't know who else was out there
No.
at that
No.
time? Okay. So you went to the kitchen and she was still pounding on the door and
Pounding.
yelling? And I know we've kind of gone over this a lot, but I want to make sure, now we're getting more like in order of things, because the first time we talked, it was kind of just like, it all came out all at once. And now that you've had a little bit of time to kind of think about things that happened again and try to get it in a good order that things happen, because it's very important to be able to say, okay, this happened first, this is what happened next, so that we don't get them confused or anything.
Okay.
So after that initial silence where, well, I wouldn't say silence, but it got quiet, you were washing your hands in the bathroom, and then the pounding and the yelling started again, and you went to the kitchen. What were you
Yes.
doing in the kitchen? Just,
I was looking for my phone.
okay,
So I put my phone down somewhere, and I started panicking, and I started searching for the phone. And then she just kept banging and banging and banging. I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, get out of here. And I'm like, I have nowhere to go. I mean, I was in the kitchen, there's the sliders, and the sliders are always locked. And just that one door, so there's no escape.
Okay.
I couldn't leave, I couldn't get out of there. I was like, Jesus Christ. And she was pounding so hard, the mirror on my wall was shaking.
okay. So that first, I'm sorry to go back, but that first time that she pounds on the door, how long do you think that lasted before there was kind of the silence? I know you said she hit the door, you said, who's there? And that was it.
Probably 5-10 seconds she was pounding the first time.
Okay. And then when it started again, how long, and I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit, but we'll kind of come back.
So I'll stop it here for a moment. So what she's describing here, she says there's two things happening. The banging starts. There's a back and forth. It subsides. She goes to the bathroom to wash her hands. Kind of weird. And then it starts again. And she says she's in the kitchen looking for her phone and can't find the phone, and then she gets into this panic mode. That's her story. So, Jones, you said you're having trouble believing her. Does this make it more difficult to believe her as well, or does this make it easier to believe her the second interview?
This is my first time saying this, and I thought the story was fairly consistent with the first time around. The thing that strikes me most, though, other than that, is she doesn't. This is the second interview, and she hasn't lawyered up, and the way she's answering these questions in her head, I think she does indeed feel justified. I don't believe she is, but I think.
Well, you don't believe it's reasonable, right? It's the reasonable test. Like what she believes is one thing, but what she believes has to be reasonable under the circumstances, and I think that's where everyone is kind of like diverging from her perspective.
It also needs to be real what she's saying, and you know there was only two people there, and one of them.
Well, can I show you one more thing? And I wanted to show you one other piece of this, which I put here at the end. Okay. So there is another witness in the trial.
So,
you'll hear her which is a neighbor. So here's her neighbor. The houses are sort of connected next to each other.
Right.
After you heard the door slam, what was the next thing you heard that drew your attention?
My wall in between our two apartments started shaking and like pounding on the wall. And it really scared me.
Okay. How long after you heard the door slam did you hear that pounding?
Very shortly, within a few minutes.
How would you describe the pounding?
It was very loud, and it scared me because the wall was shaking, and yeah.
Okay. That's okay.
All right. So that's the neighbor. Now these houses, they call them quads, and it's like four houses that are all connected to one another. So I think they share common walls in between. So this is a neighbor saying, yeah, it was loud. I thought it was Susan Lorincz, who is the defendant here. I thought it was her banging on the wall, the banging at the front door. So that corroborates to a certain extent what Susan Lorincz is saying. It wasn't a knocking on the door. It was a loud, aggressive banging of the door. Does that change anyone's equation here?
No, because I mean, she's so scared she never called the police, this woman. Okay, first of all. Second of all, the fact that there was never anyone saying she was knocking nicely on the door. She was banging on the door. There's no doubt she was banging on the door, and I've never discounted that. But what we haven't seen in the statement yet is when these two police officers who did a remarkably great job questioning her, okay, remarkably good, are like, but, so when did you start checking out what this stand your ground law was and what you needed to say and what everything else? And that's when she starts to unravel, because she had the buzzwords, okay? And that's because she looked it up on the internet as to what she was supposed to say under the circumstances. So, it's one of those scenarios that I don't care if the neighbor hears the thing banging on the door and the fact that the apartments are so close that if you're going to have that scenario. No one's doubting that. It didn't lend itself to fire through the door and take out a mother of four. Okay. Right. It did not.
But I think it is an important fact. It was an important fact during the trial, at least. You had to establish that because you don't take the defendant at her word. Now, another interesting part of the trial is that the jury saw her interviews, but she never took the witness stand.
Yeah.
Now, I know you don't have to take the witness stand, but if it's a self-defense case, you need to take the witness stand. And I understand why strategically they didn't do it, because she got her whole story out through the police interviews, right? So the whole story's there. She's not cross-examined. However, this is not the Zimmerman case.
No.
Zimmerman didn't have to take the stand because there was other evidence and that like they actually were fighting one another, right?
Right.
There was not this door. So to try to convince a jury of what was going on in your head, you need to look them in the eye and tell them. And she didn't do that. And I think that was a big part of you know, I'm not going to say it's the reason for the verdict, but it was, from my perspective, it's one of the reasons you didn't have a chance at the trial because of who the victim is, you know, the whole history of how it got to this point, and the fact that you don't get up there to explain to them what was going on. We're just looking at your police interviews. And as Al pointed out, that's a huge factor in it. You're looking up the law afterwards.
Yeah.
Like that undermines your credibility. And the only way to regain it is to get up on the witness stand, tell your story, and have the jury believe you. But she chose not to.
And come across as likable, because the one thing, you know, that she did not throughout that entire trial, and through everything that was shown through that trial and everything that was testified to at that trial, come across as being likable by any stretch of the imagination. She was a horrendous individual who had, you know, an excuse for everything, that she had been previously essayed, and that she had this and she had that, and she's the victim, and then these kids are making noise. Kids make noise. Okay, they're trying to steal my truck, and the cops go, "Are you guys trying to steal your truck?" And the kid goes, "I'm only 11." I mean, like, that's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
She was a grouchy neighbor. There was next to the unit that she was renting was an open lot that was part of the quad that was next to it. So it wasn't her property. It wasn't private property. The kids should play there.
Yeah.
Like, and this is a neighborhood with a lot of kids. And there are a lot of young kids, and you see them on all the body cams. They're all running all over the place. Like, that's where you want, and you want the kids running around playing games, roller skating, rather than kids running around doing drugs, getting into fights. You know, they're playing. Like, that's the part that is so frustrating here. I want to take this in a totally different direction for one moment. Okay. Now, this is not about who's right, who's wrong. This is about having a result where a mom is able to be there for her kids. This situation, and this, I'm not blaming anyone for anything here. I am just looking at a situation that anyone could face. And it's almost like a road rage. To me, this is like a residential road rage case. And my advice would be the same as a road rage case. Avoid confrontation. The mom was angry, rightfully so, that this woman's yelling at her kids and throwing roller skates at them. That is going to make a parent really angry, and you are going to want to confront the adult who is talking to your kids, right? You're going to want to do that. And I get it. I've been there. This woman was unhinged, this old lady across the street. And I'm wondering, and obviously, 2020. But to me, the play to make if someone is assaulting your children is for you to call police and get her arrested rather than confront her yourself. It's just a safer place for everyone. Now, you live in Florida, you live anywhere. You should, and it's like when you're driving on the road anywhere. This is the way I am with road rage. I presume whoever just cut me off or whoever I accidentally cut off has a tire iron and a gun. And I don't want any part of it. I just, when I'm on the road, I wave it off. Sorry, my fault, even if it's not. Sorry, my fault. Sorry, it's my fault. Sorry. Just to avoid any confrontation with these unknown individuals. She actually knew that this lady was a little unhinged from the history. And I get the gut reaction. I get the reaction as a parent. You're going to go after that person that went after my child. You're going to do that.
But like under these circumstances, I mean, I can understand the frustration of and you see in this
I want her to be alive for her children. I want her to do everything and anything possible to keep that going. That's where I'm broken by this thing.
But the frustration that the neighborhood had, and you see it in this special when the women, are like outside going, you don't understand this. All these kids are doing are being kids, and this woman was using the N-word. She was calling them retards. She was she called them that word. I mean, I'm not.
I know, but YouTube.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The YouTube police.
Okay, but she's using those words, describing your kids, and all these kids are doing is being kids. They're not throwing rocks at the house. They're not, putting dog dew in a bag and setting it on fire in front of her.
Oh, that's a good one.
They're not ringing the doorbell and running. Okay, none of that stuff is being done here. They're playing, and I got to tell you, I mean, I lived in a neighborhood where there were kids, and it was nice to hear them out there having a good time and having fun, as opposed to doing the other stuff that you mentioned earlier, Vinny, about like being in gangs and doing drugs and doing this and everything else. They're playing games,
roller skating. Like who roller skates anymore?
Wonderful to see
These
something.
Kids are
like
roller skating. I love it,
and to hear them laughing and having a good time. That's what makes a neighborhood wonderful. Okay. And you get to the point where you just get frustrated. And I mean, I can't fault this woman for confronting her.
Oh, I know. I just think.
But you're right. I mean, is it the right thing to do? But you know what? The thing is this, the cops were already fed up with all of this. I mean, they'd be getting 911 calls.
The line that she crossed by assaulting the child. That was the moment where you had her finally. She threw the roller skates at the little kid. She crossed the line, and that's where you could have gotten her.
But the thing is this though, if you remember, she tried to get the one woman arrested for throwing the sign at her.
The no trespassing sign, yeah.
Right, the no trespass. And the cops were like, listen, you know what? It's your word against hers. We didn't see it. So, I mean, we're not going to, it really doesn't make any sense. It's not going to go anywhere. We're not going to do anything about that. You weren't injured. There was nothing going on. That's probably what was going to happen in the instance.
Not with a child victim. Not with a child victim.
You know what? Under those circumstances, nobody saw it. The kid's going to be shy as to what happened and everything else. And the cops were going to kind of downplay it because they were sick and tired of coming there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but you might be right. You might be right. Oh.
What? Oh. Is it Christmas already?
Sunday, December 21st, folks. Lock it in. It's the Tangent Christmas Extravaganza, and you can participate. Send your pictures in. We're having an ugly sweater competition. It can be an old school picture, a new school picture. Doesn't matter. You, ugly sweater, your child in an ugly sweater, your uncle in an ugly sweater. We don't care who it is. Just send the picture. And you have an opportunity to win. Lots of prizes, trivia that night. It'll be true crime and Christmas trivia.
Query. What if you're an ugly person in a nice sweater?
Actually, I was just thinking that. I was actually thinking if your child is ugly, can you put him in a nice sweater so it's not, I mean, like he's
not redundant.
Yeah. I was actually, look at that, great minds.
We will only judge the sweaters. We will not be judging the people.
Oh, all right. Okay, that's fair.
But it's a special Sunday night edition, 7 to 10. It's going to be amazing. Surprise guests, the whole 9 yards. We've already begun rehearsals on our opening number, so this is for real.
Yes.
And I would say, Al, it's a night that will be historic.
Historical.
To civil rights and all the revolution fights. World War I and World War II. Al always knows who is who. It's this day in history. This day in history. History. Now let's listen to his story.
October 22nd, 1926. Jay
We were
Gordon.
doing the Charleston.
Jay Gordon Whitehead sucker punches Harry Houdini in the dressing room at the Princess Theater in Montreal, and as a result of that, peritonitis would set in, and Harry would die 9 days later on Halloween.
What?
1826.
Wow.
Yeah, so Harry Houdini had a thing where he challenged people to punch him in the stomach, and he was in such great shape that you would almost break your fist. The guy hit him without Harry Houdini knowing he was going to be punched. And as a result of that, the sucker punch ended up rupturing his appendix, and he had an appendicitis. And as a result, it ended up causing peritonitis, and he ended up dying from that.
Is that felony red rum?
No, not at all. Not at all. It was not considered to be that. Believe it or not, there was no charges done on that at all. In 1962, on this day, JFK goes on and addresses the nation to let them know that we may be going to war with the Soviet Union. There was missile sites that were being developed on Cuba, 90 miles away from Florida, and they were going to do a quarantine blockade. At this point in time, the United States military was at DEFCON 2, which is the highest state of readiness in post-war since that day. So we were very close to the brink of war with the Soviet Union. Cooler heads prevailed, and that did not happen. And in 1969, Paul McCartney goes on public and denies the fact that he's dead. So he went on to say that he
I'm not quite dead yet.
I'm not. Yes, that's right. I'm not dead yet. And that was the situation as let's say in 1969. In the Revolutionary War on this day in 1777, the Battle of Red Bank, New Jersey. Okay, now it's not Red Bank on the Jersey Shore there, Jonesy. It's Red Bank, which is Fort Mercer on the Delaware River, where an American hero, okay, Christopher Green, outmaneuvered a large force of Hessians and saved the day. And it was a great morale boost. Unfortunately, 1 month later, the British took Fort Mercer, and Christopher Green went on to fight other battles and was actually KIA'd in 1781, leading troops in the battle against the Loyalist forces. And the colonel in charge of the Hessian troops, Carl Van Donop, was mortally wounded and died subsequent. On this day in true crime, Charles Pretty Boy Floyd was taken out. Public enemy number one, taken out by the federal officers. He was known sort of as a Robin Hood type figure. They said that when he would go into banks and rob banks, he would also go into their documents and he would burn mortgages so that the banks had no idea as to all the different mortgages that they had on properties. And this way here, people didn't have to pay their mortgages anymore. That may or may not have been true, but he was looked upon as a hero. And in fact, there was a scene in the book, The Grapes of Wrath, where the Joad family talk very, very well about Pretty Boy Floyd. Pretty Boy Floyd.
It's interesting, Al. I'm glad you brought that up because all I ever knew about Pretty Boy Floyd, I learned in the song "The Message."
Okay,
walking around like you're Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yes,
and there's been other songs that have been done about him. That they're talking about the fact that he was actually a Robin Hood figure, as I said. His last words were that he was not responsible for the death of 4 officers in Kansas City. And he was the second of the public enemies number one taken out. First was Dillinger, and he was the second one. The other interesting thing is how Pretty Boy Floyd got his nickname. Okay, there's 2 stories. One was the fact that when he would go to work, he was actually working in the oil fields. He was dressed impeccably. And that's what they said that. But then the other thing was that he was described by a bank manager after an armed robbery where they said, well, he's a very pretty looking guy with apple blossom cheeks. So they said that's why they came up with Pretty Boy. He hated that nickname. And
it wasn't one of those ironic nicknames, right? Where like, you know, some guy who's very large, they'll call him Slim
or Tiny
or Tiny, right?
he was not a bad looking guy. He was not a bad looking guy, but I mean, he didn't like being called pretty boy. And he probably was responsible for the red rums of at least 10 individuals. So he was not a very nice man by any stretch of the imagination.
I just got to get this in from Cheryl Sabin Hobbs. She needed and wanted a reason to kill someone in that family, and she did. She's probably one of the worst old women I've ever seen. And Cheryl, thank you for the stars that you sent over on Facebook. And yet the jury agrees, and it seems like we all agree with you as well.
Yeah,
the neighborhood grouch to the extreme.
Now, can I mention my bad neighbors?
Yes.
Okay, so the one neighbor I'm going to mention, which is going to—
Are they a celebrity? Because you live like in Eddie Murphy's neighborhood.
I'm going to mention that a neighbor of my friend, 2 doors down, we used to play wiffle ball in my friend's backyard, and the ball would go into the went over into the yard of George North. Okay, now George North would love to wait to see when the ball would go into the backyard, and then what he would do is he would come out with a hose as you would go into his backyard. Okay. And it was a powered hose. So he would hit you with water, okay, and it would hurt. And he would do this regardless of the season. It could be the winter, it could be the fall, it could be the summer or the spring, and he would hit you with the power hose. Now, the interesting story about this man, George North, he subsequently was arrested for the red rum of his wife, whose body was found headless up at their farm up in New York State. He went to trial on the matter and was acquitted because the jury did not believe that maybe she was having an affair, and that the person she was having the affair with wanted to break off, and that he may have been responsible. So he was acquitted. He left. He went back home. And he dies on the anniversary of the day she was allegedly red-rummed of a heart attack. Okay, so that was the story of George North. So that was my neighbor, my pseudo neighbor. But then my next door neighbor, the Murrays, okay, Sarah Murray would not let us go on her property to get the ball, and then she would keep them and give them to her grandkids, and that used to annoy the hell out of me.
Jennifer Lego, Al makes learning history fun. Call me.
Oh. Sure.
Ooh.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's my bad neighbor story. So I've got the only bad neighbor that was actually up on red rum charges.
And
the interesting point was that when I became prosecutor in Englewood Cliffs. Okay, now this was when I was a kid. I became prosecutor in Englewood Cliffs. They actually found the head, okay, the skull, because they couldn't find it. They actually found it. We had to do a DNA search. There was not enough DNA in the skull to permanently identify it. And then we get a phone call from the lawyer of George North, who was on his, North is dead, but the lawyer was on his deathbed. And he said he needed to get something off his chest. And he told us where the weapon was that George North had used to red rum his wife. It was in the foundation of the house, and it had been cemented up. And then we had to go into the house to get the weapon, and we had to get permission from the current owners and everything else.
Did you find Jimmy Hoffa too?
I'm sorry?
Did you find Jimmy Hoffa there also?
We didn't find Jimmy Hoffa. No, we did not. But I did find 3 of my wiffle balls, which was in.
I was going to ask that. So this explains why the guy didn't want you on his property.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, what happened was, that was a big deal when she disappeared, and he just said, she ran away with somebody, and that was the thing. The guy used to work on a lathe every night, driving the neighbors nuts because keep his garage doors open, and he would be working on the lathe. And then the lathe is a wooden thing, where you work with wood. And the night that she was allegedly red rummed, the garage door was closed.
The one night it was closed, right?
And then he had actually decapitated her, and then took the body up north.
All right, I'm moving to Jonesy's neighborhood now. I think it's a little safer. Hey, Gen X to the 7th, member of our Mod Squad, of course, saying, please give the episode a thumbs up. And there's this new groovy hype feature that you can access at the top of the comments and hype the Tangent podcast after the show. Swipe left from the comments. Thank you so much. Of course, Gen X, member of our Mod Squad, which I always brag about because they are the best in the business.
We are the Mod Squad, keeping order in the chat. The Mod Squad, the Mod Squad, spotting trolls who attack. The Mod Squad, oh, Gen X is ready and on the scene. Frankie Figs making sure they're keeping it clean. Jennifer Sube telling haters don't be so mean. And Ashley Bouchard on top of our Facebook screen. We are the Mod Squad, cleaning up the mess. The Mod Squad, the Mod Squad, simply the best. The Mod Squad, the Mod Squad.
Another standing ovation for the Mod Squad, ladies and gentlemen. What else do we have going on here? I guess take a look. We're good. All right, let's get to some comments before we run out of time here.
Sure.
Why don't we do
Sounds
that?
good.
People are talking
Thank
about
you.
everything. Let's see. Heather, whatever, good song. All right.
Okay.
Sally Vella, they need backup dancers behind them.
Well, that's why we're rehearsing for the Christmas show.
Yeah, the big opening number is going to be epic this year, ladies and gentlemen. The big opening number.
And I'm getting a chance to be a choreographer, which is what I've always wanted to be in life. So.
Yeah. Let's see what else folks are saying here. Bice, no, nothing gross, Al. She does not like anything gross in your historical stories.
Was I gross in anything I
Well,
said?
we got into a little bit of dismemberment, didn't we?
Well, but that's what happened with the person that was taking my wiffle balls and hitting me with a hose. Okay. I mean, that was gross. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, he had this like super like powered hose. I guess that you used to power wash, and he would shoot this at children.
Well, let me ask you, Al, is if you're on his property and he's doing that, is that an assault?
It is probably not. I'm trespassing. So I mean,
hose your ground? Is it hose your ground?
Yes. Well, if thank God he didn't have a gun. I mean, that's what I'm happy about. But I mean,
he did, but it was in the foundation. He used it already.
It was very, very traumatic as a child to be soaking wet in December.
Yeah. And another random comment from Samir, my love. I love Vinny the most. These things just pop up.
Yeah, it's interesting how that happens.
That's what she said.
That's what, very, very interesting. Let's go back to the gross comment.
All right, let me see.
I love Vinny the most, and Al, don't be gross. That really works out very well.
Cordiella Noelle. I lived in town, but there were a lot of trees. Owners let us play so long as we didn't cut on the bushes and trees, but could use dead stuff to build forts. Another let us use their backyard for ball games. That's a great neighborhood you grew up in.
Yeah.
That's a great neighborhood. You didn't have the Whitneys. I lived next to
the Murrays or the Norths.
Or the Norths. And Jonesy, your neighbor seemed to be the nicest.
Well, it didn't seem that way, but I think, like teachers, she singled me out as the good one.
Yeah.
And that's why she gave me the shoebox full of baseball cards.
Yeah, that was.
But it, every time she took our ball, we only had one. That was like the end of playtime until we got to the 5 and 10.
Yeah. Should we add all these homes to the when we do the Tangent Fest part of the tour?
Well, we can do that. I mean, it's a little bit of a distance between where the North House was and where Jonesy is. It might be a little too far.
And then
Well-
you have to drive west or drive southwest to my house.
Yeah, and so I mean, like if you're going from that triangulation, so that the Tangenista Fest would be a little difficult.
Well, maybe we would have karaoke in the bus.
Well,
Jonesy
I
would lead us in karaoke.
can't argue with that.
Jonesy, are you a karaoke guy? Some DJs hate karaoke, some love it.
I can see the fun in it, but I don't really participate. Man's got to know his limitations, and I can't sing. I did do it once. It was a birthday party at Lee's Hawaiian Islander in Lyndhurst, and because it was my friend's birthday, to honor her, I did the song "Michelle" by the Beatles. That was her name, and I made up the French parts. I sang in gibberish. Afterwards, they said to me, "I didn't know you speak French." It's kind of like a Honeymooners episode, right? Doesn't speak French, and I actually won. But the reason I won, I think, is because of the song I chose. It was the birthday girl, Michelle. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a very popular song on the karaoke thing.
Yeah. Oh wait, I gotta put Sally up here first. Sally, don't forget the airing of grievances, the feats of strength, and the new Christmas creations. We may be having an airing of the grievances.
Yes,
during the extravaganza. So Sally, you are like in sync with. We had the meeting already, so totally in sync, Sally, for the airing.
I don't think we have a leak among us, Vin.
Yeah. Did we talk about this on the air? Because
no, we did not.
So we do definitely have a leak because we did speak about feats of strength.
I was all for that, and that was shot down 2-1. I just want you guys to know that out there.
Well, whose feats are the strongest? Do you think?
Feats of strength?
No, whose feats? Like, are your feats stronger than my feats? Whose feats are the strongest?
Mine I definitely come in third place in any kind of physical competition with you two gentlemen. So
yeah, and I think Vinny could outrun me, so that probably would be the situation on that. But if you were going to get in the ring, yeah, on my own on that one.
Gen X airing of grievances is a given. Yeah, it's just another podcast.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
With Al.
We should also have that on Monday night too, from 8 to 9.
Oh, don't get me started, Al. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. All right. I think we're current with all of our comments, which is good news. Oh, by the way, folks, don't forget, there are items available in the True Crime merch shop.
And a hoodie, a beach towel and a mug. A new design from Vinnie is better than a drug. True crime merch, you know he did it. True crime merch, mark the exhibit. True crime merch, we hate Casey. True crime merch from Vinnie originally. Our tangent stuff is great, unlike any others. Buy it now, don't wait. Perfect for all you mothers. True crime merch, allegedly. True crime merch, stepped on a bee. True crime merch, it's not free. True crime merch from Vinnie originally.
By the way, we've got a new item in the shop that I wanted to share with everyone.
Oh, really?
We got the winter cap and the baseball cap.
Nice.
Oh, very nice.
Look at that. Come in various colors. I'm sporting the white and the black here, but just added to the True Crime merch shop. So make sure you check it out. And by the way, all these items in the merch shop are things that you can win during the Tangent Christmas extravaganza. We gave away so many prizes last year. And this year we'll be giving away even more. So get ready, get set. Al, which would you go for? The winter knit cap or the baseball cap?
Well, that's a tough one. I'm always partial to the baseball hat. So
baseball. Jonesy, baseball?
Have to be baseball. I although I wear them in the extreme cold, I despise knit hats. There's nothing cool about them. Sometimes I see band members who have gone bald over the years, like the Psychedelic Furs guitarist, and he wears a knit hat. And I'm
Yes.
looking at the stage thinking, dude, man, couldn't you just get like a cool hat?
There are people there, and I've noticed this, and especially with bands, there's always like the one member of the band that wears the knit hat, but they wear it like it doesn't matter if it's cold out or not.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Something we wearing the knit hat. What's that all about?
I think it's to hide the hairlines and stuff like that. And in the case of the guitarist of the Psychedelic Furs, that was the reason. But there's nothing cool about a knit hat on stage.
Well, you know what? That's not true.
Oh, a debate. Go.
Mike Nesmith made it look cool.
Okay.
Oh,
But that
wow.
that was his trademark. You're right.
Mike Nesmith made it look cool. I have
Yes.
to throw that out there.
And not only that, he made it his trademark.
Well,
Right. That-
can you
that- that
clarify
group-
who Mike Nesmith
Mike
is?
Nesmith is one of the original members of the Monkees.
The
Yeah.
monkey.
He's also one of the most successful members of the Monkees because his mother created Whiteout, and he also is the person that created music videos.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, he's the one who created music videos.
How is that possible?
It was his idea to come up to put the videos with the songs. I mean, basically, the Monkees were a show that was about a fake band.
Right.
Okay. And then he decided to cut that into making music videos. And he has the first videos that are classified as like MTV ready videos.
Wow.
Yeah. There was one, I believe, that involved a roller skater, if I'm not mistaken. That was like his first big one.
There was something with an elephant too. There was a song on that, and
But-
it was. I mean, and he wrote some incredible songs.
He did.
You know, I mean, he was. You know, he was a full blown musician.
But which
and that
is
was
more valuable? His contribution to society with his music and the music videos, or his mother with the whiteout?
Mother with the Whiteout.
Yeah. But the music lives on, and how many people have whiteout anymore because of computer printers and stuff?
That's true. That's true.
No, that's a valid point. But you know what?
Thank you, April Diaz. Have a great day today. Thank you, April Diaz. We appreciate everything you say. We all know she's a great fan, and we know the kind words she has. We always love to hear from you. Thank you, April Diaz.
Woo! April Diaz. She says her head is too big and she has too much hair to actually wear a hat, which is interesting, right? Like, I'm going back to the 80s now. How did any of those women wear knit hats?
Oh, I don't think they did. You got to remember at a certain age, you know, going out to the nightclub and stuff like that, it was much more important to look cool than to be warm, even on like the coldest night. At least that was my take on it. So I don't think there was a lot of knit hats being worn by ladies in the 80s.
All right. Rosie wants a song. Sing, Al.
What am I singing?
I don't know. So, Rosie.
Well, over the rainbow.
There you go.
Right.
So, Rosie, to get a song, you can win a song in the Tangent Christmas Extravaganza. We gave away 2 songs last year, and you'll hear them from time to time. Yeah. So, Rosie, there is a way to get a song. There is a way. Up, another random note. Sharon Shuvala. Ugh, I'm late, but I'm here. Love you, Vinny. Great to have you aboard, Sharon. Better late than never. Indeed.
Dreaming.
Indeed. So we've got just want to remind you one more time, we're almost out of time here, that the Christmas special coming up. I'll put it back up here. This is huge. You need to mark the calendars right now. Grab your phones. Sunday, December 21st. Mark it in there, 7 to 10. I know there's lots of things going on. I know everyone gets busy with the holidays and all, but this is the extravaganza. It's at least 3 hours long. It's filled with prizes, games, unbelievable videos, an opening number that'll be like a showstopper. There's a lot going on here. So you want to be a part of it. You never know who's going to show up. I mean,
don't walk by, give it a try.
Exactly. So that's that. What else do we have? I think that's all we have, folks. Let's give our bottom line to the story that we covered today, which again was talking about The Perfect Neighbor, which is the Netflix hit documentary, which is really well done, but it was also a trial on Court TV. By the way, we'll be covering this story tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, 9:00 tonight. We'll take a deep dive into the case of Susan Lorincz and the mom and the kids and what happened at the trial and looking forward. By the way, she was convicted manslaughter, 25 years, so she's done. So you don't have to worry about it.
I wonder if she calls the warden on the other inmates when they're, during playtime in the yard or something like that.
Or the people in the cell next to her are making too much noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, by the way, I'll give you another footnote. You guys will appreciate this. I forgot to mention this. She's in Florida, but not originally from Florida.
Well, I mean, that's pretty common, isn't it?
Right.
She's from Passaic, New Jersey.
Passaic, as Agron would say. Agron would pronounce it with 3 syllables.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Does that change your evaluation of the case, Al?
No, that's even worse because you're from Passaic and Passaic had a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and it was it was not a bad. Probably when she was growing up there, it was probably a very, very, very fun neighborhood to live in.
Yeah. Here's the thing, and I don't know what her family situation was. I know she was living alone and she was still working, but working remotely from inside. So she was in the house like 24 hours a day, right? Which is part of the problem here. The other part of the problem is she should have moved to a 55+ community. That's why they exist, because some people, when they hit a certain age, get grouchy and no longer like children and the noise and all of that. They just want to be left alone and they want quiet. That's one of the reasons we invented the 55+ communities. And there are a bottomless number of them down in Florida if you want the warm weather. Like, that's what she should have done. Like, if you're going to move into a neighborhood and move into a neighborhood with families and complain about kids making noise in a family neighborhood, then it's on you. It's you chose to live there. You should have chosen a 55+ neighborhood, or just gotten a double wide and parked it somewhere away from everybody.
Well, you know what? Now she's in a nice place. There are no kids where she is now, so it's perfect.
Oh, that's true. That's true. She may be happier.
Except on visiting day.
Well, I'm sure she's not getting a whole heck of a lot of visits. That's for sure.
No.
I mean, you know what? And the other thing is, folks, don't abuse 911, calling 911 because kids are making noise. I mean, that's absurd. Absolutely absurd. I mean, those poor cops having to respond there, and you just the look on their face of like, oh my God, here we go again. The Netflix special, I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it. It was excellent. And I was even happier. I mean, I knew she was going to be convicted. I knew that was going to happen. To getting the 25 years was just a nice little cherry on top of the sundae.
Yeah, and I think something the judge said at the end was that she didn't shoot out of fear; she shot out of anger.
Right.
And I think he hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
Right, it's waiting for that opportunity to do it, and it wasn't out of fear. Okay, when you sit there and you rehearse because you've got you're reading it off the screen as to what you need to say. And there's another part in it where they ask her, listen, you got 4 kids now that don't have a mother anymore. What do you want to say to them? I'm going to give you this pad, and you can write down, maybe an apology, something. So you might want to say something to them. It might not be a bad idea because we can't let you speak with them, which I thought was a very interesting way of doing things. And she writes down a complete self-serving little thing about, like, I'm sorry about your mom, but you know what? I was in fear for my life and blah, 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 blah. just ridiculous. I mean,
was that letter presented to the kids? Because I wouldn't want to see that if I were them.
No, they didn't show that to the kids, as far as I know. But I mean, it was part of the evidence in the trial, and because it's a confession. I mean, basically, it was a form of a confession. It also showed that if the defense would be saying, well, look, she's still saying here she's defending herself. But I mean, just ridiculous. But the cops, I think the cops did a really good job, interviewing her.
Jonesy, what's your bottom line?
Bottom line was she seems to be an awful person, and I mean, hassling the kids is one thing that happens all the time in neighborhoods, but in the end, she gets what she deserves, right?
Yeah, and I agree. My only regret in all this is that the children, there's right, there's wrong, and she's in prison. To me, the best result is when a mom is there to raise her kids. And
that opening video you showed when the children are told the news, that is heartbreaking.
Yeah. So I feel like, justice is served, but I wish that it never would have had to have been served.
Amen.
I wish that it just, but anyhow, that's it, folks. So we'll be back probably a week from Friday coming up.
Halloween. We'll be back for the Halloween show.
Oh, cool.
Is that actual Halloween day?
Yes.
Absolutely. October 31st.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Ooh. That could be a scary show. All right. So we'll have to have a special theme for that show. Anyway, Al, tell folks where they can find you.
All right, folks. Well, this Friday, I will be at the Don Bosco Paramus Catholic football game as Bosco continues with their undefeated season. And on Monday, I will be on Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan from 8 to 9. I will be coming from a golf outing, so I will not be in my usual tie and everything else. I will be wearing a golf shirt, but I'm coming on there special to be on after raising money for the PBA Local 245.
Jonesy, where can folks find the radio legend?
Wow, you should consider wearing Ralph Cramden's golf outfit, which I actually wore one year. I wore that one year on Halloween because I would go out as a different version of Ralph Cramden every year.
I'm hitting uphill, downhill, and everything going. It's like, let me just want to say one thing. Hasta la vista, Los Angelistas.
Well, you can find me at glennjones.net, Glenn with one N as mommy intended it to be. And that'll lead you to all the AMs and the FMs and the streams and the archives and the whole shebang.
All right. And you can find me, of course, every night, 8 to 10, 2 hours of live true crime, two completely different shows, but they're both live. They're both unscripted. They're both about true crime. Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan, 8 to 9, the big stories of the day. And then from 9 to 10, Vinnie Politan Investigates. And tonight, we'll be taking a look at the Perfect Neighbor case at 9 o'clock. So that's it. I've got nothing else. Big thanks to the Mod Squad, of course. Great chat. Thank you for the super chats. And thank you to the Court TV YouTube channel for the simulcast. And if you haven't been over there, please go to the Court TV YouTube channel, subscribe, and then become a member because they get lots of points as a member over there. Without any further ado, say goodnight, Jonesy.
Good night, Jonesy.
morning saying